Hello viewers, today we will discuss the very interesting topic of e-commerce. Traditional communication devices like post, telegraph, including telephone, played very important role in formation of contract and hence in spreading commerce all over the globe. Then came instant communication system. However, after the formation of the contract, there was no uniformity in the information format. The information format was not standard for doing business. Different trading partners were using different purchase orders, forms, invoices, shipping notice, export-import information form and fund transfer form. This drawback was removed by the software called Electronic Data Interchange, which is called as EDI, which replaced human readable paper on electronic based document with machine readable. Electronically coded documents, EDI resulted in the paperless environment where sender's computer create the message and receive the computer's interpret it without human involvement. EDI was beginning of e-commerce. E-commerce is a new gateway of technological success of the Indian business scenario in the era of information explosion. E-commerce has revolutionized business activities globally through the use of information and digital technology in the new millennium. Digital technology provides effective communication platform to communicate to the consumers directly or through online marketing. It means conducting business through network technology. E-commerce means application of electronic commerce. So, it is a question of technical capability and commerce is the way in which the capability is applicable. E-commerce is a new way of conducting, executing and managing business. Transaction using modern information technology, the internet has provided access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime and anywhere. Theoretically, the internet is the main technology where all the elements of commercial transactions can be conducted on an interactive basis with more than one person, unconstrained by the time and place in a multimedia environment at relatively low cost, saving as well as increasing competitiveness and efficiency through the redesign of traditional business. E-commerce is thus a business practice that involves use of computer system or computer network. First, we will discuss some definitions of e-commerce. E-commerce is based on a bytes. Basically, e-commerce means doing business over internet, selling goods and services which are delivered offline as well as the products which can be digitized and delivered online such as computer software. E-commerce defined simply is the commercial transaction of services in an electronic format. In general terms, e-commerce is a business methodology that addresses the need of organizations, traders and consumers to reduce cost while improving the quality of goods and services and increasing the speed of service delivery. It may also be referred as paperless exchange of business information using electronic data interchange, electronic fund transfer, etc. E-commerce is not only about simple transactions of data but also general commercial acts such as publicity, advertisement, negotiation, contracts and fund settlements. It refers to all form of transactions relating to the commercial activities, including both organizations and individuals that are based upon the processing and transmission of digitalized data, including text, sound and visual image. The World Trade Organization Ministerial Declaration on E-commerce defines E-commerce as production, distribution, marketing, sales of delivery of goods and services by electronic means. The 6 main instruments of e-commerce that have been recognized by the World Trade Organizations are telephone, fax, TV, electronic payment and money transfer system like EDI and the internet. The European Union defines electronic commerce is a general concept covering a form of business transaction or information exchange executed using information and communication technology between companies and their customers or between companies and public administration. Electronic commerce includes electronic trading of goods, services and electronic media. Different definition of e-commerce as quoted according to the UN report of the electronic commerce and development are: e-commerce is the carrying out of business activity that led to an exchange of values across telecommunication network. So, e-commerce simply is the commercial transaction of services in electronic format. E-commerce refers to generally to all forms of transaction relating to commercial activities including both organizations and individuals that are based upon the processing and transmission of digitized data including text, sound and visual image. From a communication perspective, e-commerce is a delivery of information, products, services or payment via telephone line or computer network or any other means. Then we will discuss what is the scope of e-commerce. E-business in the broad terms as a mass market capability that is enabled by the combination of the internet's globe reach and the vast resources of the traditional information technology. It is a multi-headed monster wherein the many facets are technical but others are not. There are several commonly used names for the e-business, the most popular being e-commerce and e-trade. E-commerce is just one aspect of e-business. The term e-commerce is a rather narrow constructed definition with its emphasis on the transactional process. Online commerce is referred to as e-business, e-trade and e-commerce. To get a grasp on the overall scope of the nature of e-business proposition, it is required to have a look at the constituent part of trading over a network. The mainstream of e-commerce consists of these 3 areas. The one is electronic markets, electronic data interchange and the last one is internet commerce. First we will discuss what does electronic markets. The electronic market is the use of information and communication technology to present a range offering available in a market segment so that purchaser can compare the prices and other attributes of the offerings and make a purchase decision. The evaluation of the information society is often compared to the Industrial Revolution on the term of its consequences. The use of information and communication technologies provides the opportunity to extend the ability of individual and organization. Then we will discuss electronic data interchange. Electronic data interchange is used by the organization for the transaction that is on a regular basis to predetermined format. EDI is the intercompany computer-to-computer communication of standard business transaction in a standard format that permits the receiver to perform the intended transaction. In execution of simple trade exchange, the customer's order can be sent by EDI and delivery notification from the supplier can use EDI to send invoice and the customer can finish the trade cycle with an electronic fund. Transfer via bank and on EDI notification to the supplier. Internet e-commerce. Over the last few years, the internet has matured to provide a global infrastructure accessible to vast number of people. It makes global market a reality even for the individuals and a small business. More significantly, the internet makes it possible to transform electronic trading from an expensive and specialized process into cheap and realistic proposition for the masses. Physical business to e-commerce on the internet is an area of rapid development. Consumer e-commerce has gained a new dynamic by the popularization and commercialization of the internet. The basic element of internet e-commerce are the consumer with a computer hooked up to the internet, the content provider who has set up an internet application and installed it on the internet linked computer. Consumer trade transactions are open to anyone with an internet connection. E-shopping is everywhere in the world and it's open 24 hours a day. Then we will discuss what are the main goals of e-commerce. It helps in achieving following goals. The first one is reach new markets, then creating new products or services, build customer loyalty, then enrich human capital, then make the best use of existing and emerging technologies, achieve market leadership and competitive advantages. Then we will discuss what are the types of e-commerce. Over the last few years, technology has landed us in the new paradigm. The internet has evolved from being scientific network only to a platform that is enabling a new generation of business. The first wave of electronic business was fundamentally the exchange of information. But with the passage of time, more and more types of business have become available electronically, particularly from the perspective of buyer and seller relationship. E-commerce application can be divided formally into 6 categories. The one is business to business, termed as the second industrial revolution. It includes electronic data interchange. Then business to consumer includes e-tailing, e-news, e-learning, e-service, etc. Third one is consumer to business, includes commercial transactions between consumers and the businessman in online shopping and trading. The fourth one is consumer to consumer, popularly known as a eBay e-commerce. Then business to government, and last one is the government to consumer. The last two categories have been added in the 21st century only. Earlier, there were prominent 4 categories of e-commerce. For the purpose of online payment in e-commerce from the government, banks, taxation purposes, it becomes necessary to involve the government sector also along with private companies in e-commerce. Then we will discuss exigency of law in e-commercial transaction. Commerce is global, however, law governing commerce is not globally uniform. A global spanning technology, that is internet, has made possible the flow of data and digitalized information across the net in easily digitalized packets through the interconnection of telephone networks. The old set of rules and practices governing communication and trading are largely incompatible with the emerging system of communication and trading practices in borderless world created by the internet. The influx of the internet and the World Wide Web, even though made it possible to communicate and transact over cyberspace, it resulted in the emergence of multitude of problems, including crimes, and need for its regulations emerged as a prime concern for the authorities. However, internet worked as a double-edged weapon. On one hand, it has flourished commerce, on the other hand, it also posed greater challenges before the contemporary society. First, we will discuss the main reasons for the growth of e-commerce. The very first one is digital convergence. It means that due to digital revolution, almost all digital devices can communicate with one and another. Today's e-commerce is available to anywhere, anyone in the world, anytime, 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. It helps in a beginning about positive change in an organization. People are now having a widespread access to IT and personal computers. E-commerce helps in reducing operating costs and increasing profit margins due to global operation. Demand for customized product and services are increasing. Then we will discuss advantages of e-commerce. E-commerce has several advantages. The very first one is the business without the barriers of time or distance. E-commerce plays a very important role in allowing people to carry out business without the barrier of time or distance. One can log on the internet at any time, whether day or night, and purchase or sell anything as his desired. Then the lower cost of sale. As there is no human interaction, wholesaler, retailer, etc. during online electronic purchase order process, therefore the direct cost of sale for an order taken from the website is lower than the through traditional means. Further, electronic selling also eliminates processing errors and is also more convenient for the visitor. Cheapest means of doing business. Another important benefit of e-commerce is that as compared to the paper-based commerce, it is the cheapest means of doing business. And another one is advantages to the buyer. From the buyer's perspective, also e-commerce offers a lot of advantage. Reduction in buyers sorting out time, better buyer decision, less time in spending resolving invoice and order discrepancies, increased opportunity for buying alternative products, less delivery time, labor cost, etc. A significant benefit of e-commerce is that it helps to reduce the delivery time, labor cost and cost incurred in the following area. The one is document preparation, error detection and correction, mail preparation, communication, data entry, overtime for completing the work and supervision expenses. Price fixation. The day-to-day pressures for the marketplace have played their part in reducing the opportunity for the companies to invest in improving their competitive position. A mature market, increased competitions have all reduced the amount of money available to invest. If the selling price cannot be increased and the manufactured cost cannot be decreased, then the difference can be in the way the business is carried out. E-commerce has provided the solution by decimating the costs which are incurred. Then we will discuss what are the disadvantages of e-commerce. They are as following. The very first one is few people are using e-commerce. Because of technology phobia or trust, only few people are using this mode of commerce. Therefore, one more disadvantage of e-commerce is that internet has still not touched the lives of great number of people, either due to the lack of knowledge or trust. A large number of people do not use the internet for any kind of financial transaction. Some people simply refuse to trust the authenticity of completely impersonal business transaction. As in the case of e-commerce, many people do not want to disclose personal and private information for the security reason, therefore may not be fulfilling the requirement of e-commerce. Further, many times the legitimacy and authenticity of different e-commerce sites have also been questioned. Then unable to personally examine the product, buying product through the internet do not allow physical examination of products. Only images of the products may be available for the viewing, but there is a risk involved in the uncertainty of the quality of the product that the consumer is purchasing. Special hardware and software. There are specific hardware and software that are essential to start an e-commerce company, which are bulk and costly. Then the maintenance of website. Website must be maintained and updated regularly, which leads to extra labor cost. Then training and maintenance. It is important to have well skilled and trained workers to create and maintain e-commerce facilities of a company. The very important disadvantage is security. An e-commerce business exposes itself to the security risk and may be susceptible to destruction and disclosure of confidential data, data transfer and transaction risk or virus attacks. Possibilities of stealing credit card numbers are the real threat in e-commerce activities. Not suitable for perishable commodities. Another limitation of e-commerce is that it is not suitable for perishable commodities like food items. People prefer to shop in the conventional way than to use e-commerce for purchasing food products. So, e-commerce is not suitable for such business sector. Then important issue is delivery time. The time period required for delivering physical products can also be quite significant in case of e-commerce. A lot of phone calls and emails may be required till you get your desired products. Then the main issue is returning the product and getting a refund. Where consumer is not satisfied with the particular product, then returning the product and getting a refund can be more troublesome and time consuming than simple purchasing. Then the problems of e-records. Last but not the least, main problem in e-commerce is problem of electronic record or message when transmitted during e-transaction. There is integrity, authentication, confidentiality and privacy. Then the main issue is again e-commerce jurisdiction. In e-commerce, the legal issue of jurisdiction, meaning the legitimate scope of government power, still remains a major legal aspect that is yet to be sorted out satisfactorily. A court must have jurisdiction over the litigants and the claims before it entertains a lawsuit. In the context of e-commerce, this issue arises when there is a dispute between business houses from different states in a country. For example, in India, a customer in New Delhi may be required to travel to Bangalore to defend against a company that is suing him from breaking a sale agreement. Generally, under the present law of physical jurisdiction, the court will have jurisdiction over commercial litigants if his business is located in that area. However, in the cyberspace, the place where the web server of the business is located would determine the rights of the customer to file a suit. Unfortunately, it is not always clear where the server is located, especially when the e-merchant has multiple web servers in different countries. Perhaps the only thing that counts is the country where the e-merchant is located, and the location determines the jurisdiction on the internet liability under the law of contract. There are several kinds of legal problems or dispute in e-commerce, especially business to consumer model covered under law of contract, such as the e-merchant delivers but the customer does not admit that he or she ever received the merchandise. Then the e-merchant delivers but the customer refuses to pay his or her 14 years old ordered the product using a parent's Visa card without authorization. The customer pays for the goods and e-merchant fails to deliver. Then the customers pay in full but receive either wrong merchandise or a partial order. The customer does not like the good, but the e-merchant has no procedure for accepting the return goods. Then the customer receives the goods, but it arrives damaged. The carrier denies responsibility. The e-merchant claims it's the carrier's responsibility, and the vendor is located overseas. Another problem is the customer receives the goods, but it does not operate properly. The e-merchant asks the customer to ship the product to the manufacturer at the customer's expense. The manufacturer has no in-house service center. Here, important question is whether law of contract would be applicable to solve such problems. It is significant to mention here that recently the Information Technology Act 2000 has been amended by the Information and Technology Amendment Act 2008, by which Section 10A was introduced so as to confer validity on e-contract, which is as under validity of contract formed through e-form. Section 10A said, where in a contract formation, the communication of proposal and acceptance of proposal, the revocation of proposal and acceptance, as the case may be, are expressed in electronic form or by means of an electronic record, then such contract shall not deem to be unenforceable solely on the ground that such electronic form or mean was used for that purpose. It is important to note that Section 10A confers validity on e-contract. Therefore, where the proposals, the acceptance of proposals and the revocation of the proposals and acceptance are made in e-form, then such contracts shall be valid under Indian Contract Act 1872 and shall not be unenforceable solely on the ground that such electronic form or mean was used for that purpose. Some major challenges to the cyber law jurisprudence are as follows. The one is, in the real world, a computer goes into shop, selects commodity, hand over cash in return for the goods which he carries away. The risks are very small, and even if things go wrong, consumer can usually exchange the faulty goods. Consumer knows where to go back to the shop because bricks and mortar rarely move overnight. However, when trading over the internet, things are not simple. The dream of virtual trader can suddenly become a nightmare. Then, violation of rights of e-consumer. A 20th century fetus of technological development has grown to an epidemic and has become an uncontrollable in the 21st century. One of the most characteristic of online fraud is that these are transnational and faceless, unlike the conventional crimes. Often investigations end up in vacuum due to the very nature of the crime and for the lack of effective legislative framework in combating the same. With the introduction of the information technology, enabled services such as e-governance, e-commerce and e-transaction, the protection of personal data, information and implementation of security practices has assumed a great importance. However, security on the internet is the biggest and sensitive issue which needs amendment in the present legislation. Exploitation of the rights of e-consumer under the wheel of information technology has grown from cesspool into the huge iceberg. Unfortunately, in India, we are just thinking of touching the tip of the iceberg through ad hoc measures. E-commerce demands greater vigilance to ensure that the parties do not violate or infringe upon their rights. But the present legislation is not giving the response to the need of the hour. Normally, Indian laws are very specific in terms of the jurisdiction. However, the IT Act as an exception. How does a government proposes to exercise the said extraterritorial jurisdiction in the light of established principles of international law? In concluding remarks, just as country's jurisprudence reflects its unique historical experience and culture, the law of cyberspace too reflects its special character, which differs markedly from anything found in the physical world. While the cyber world is wonderful, useful and interesting, it's not altogether free from dangers. It has also become a soft target from criminal activities also. As the society has become more and more dependent on information processing and communication, such risks are increasing at an exponential rate. The total dependence of commercial banking and even government's activity on the networking is providing opportunity to the criminal to commit mischief, crime on the internet without disastrous and far-reaching effects. With the boom in the e-commerce and other network dependent activities, cybercrime has become a very serious threat for the information age. The Information Technology Act 2000 has been enacted to give effect to the Unilateral Model Law 1996 in India. In this regard, the Information Technology Amendment Act 2000 has been amended in order to give widest possible applicabilities. Thank you viewers for watching this program.